Hello and welcome to the shop. Today I'm going to be turning the bolt action pen and pencil set from PSI. Now I've turned many of these pens and they're just a wonderful kit. I've never turned the pencil. I'm anxious to turn it. I think the turning is going to be super simple because it's identical to the pen. What I'm really concerned about is the lead mechanism, the mechanical pencil part that releases the lead. I want to make sure it's smooth as it releases the lead. I want to make sure it holds the lead as you're writing, doesn't let the lead slide back up into the pencil, and just really want to see what the quality of the kit is. When these are finished, I'm going to be turning them out of Antler. When they're finished, I have some cases that I purchased for them. They are a black case, a hard shell case, and it looks like an actual rifle case. It's a replica of a normal rifle case. And I think that's pretty cool. I mean, you got a couple of bolt action pens, you got a rifle case that they can be stored and displayed in. So let's hope this turns out. Now I have two sets of these bushings. And the reason why I have two sets of them, they both use the same set of bushings, but I've made so many of the pens that I literally wore out a set of bushings. I didn't throw them away when I bought replacements. I kept them. So on the pen closest to the headstock, or the blank closest to the headstock, those are going to be my new bushings, and I'm going to turn that pen all the way down to the bushings. On the blank that will be closest to the tailstock, I'm going to use my old bushings, and strictly they're going to be on there for me just to true this blank up. Once I get the first one turned down to where I need it, I'll just flip the blanks, and then I'll finish turning the second blank down to those bushings. So this is just something that I'm going to try to kind of help me speed the process up, and really the old bushings, I probably could turn to them, but I'm just not going to take a chance. So I've said enough. Let me get this camera flipped around, show you what things look like on the lathe, and get to turning. I've got my blanks mounted up. I'm ready to start turning. I will let you know there's one slight change. I actually put the two new bushings on closest to the tailstock and my older set closest to the headstock. So this will be the blank that I'll turn down to the bushings. This one I'm just going to get trued up, and then we'll swap out later to final turn this one. I have sharpened my rough and gouge, and before I start, I normally don't do a lot in the way of safety, but when turning Antler, you need to take precautions. I will be using a face shield because little pieces will fly off, and that'll protect my eyes and my face. And I'll be using a respirator, and then of course, since I'm going to have my shop vac running, it's very noisy in the shop, I'll have a set of headphones on. Let me go ahead and get my gear on. I'll flip the camera around, take a quick picture of myself. I won't be able to talk because the respirator will stop me from doing that, and I'll show you the safety gear I'm using, and then we'll get to turning. Now what I want to do is take a little bit of denatured alcohol and just basically wipe the dust off of the blanks. Let them dry for a few minutes and we'll be ready to apply a finish. Starting to look better. We've got still quite a few little divot marks back here we're going to take care of. The front blank is starting to fill pretty nicely. A few more coats. On the front blank here, or I guess the back blank, I've got one little divot mark right in the center. The back blank just has a few. It's filling really nicely, so we're going to go ahead and give each of them one more coat. We'll see how this one looks. I think this one's going to require a couple of extra coats, but we'll work through that in a moment. I still see that one little divot there, so we're getting so close. The back blank is looking really good. I got a couple little areas, maybe 3 or 4 right up front here. The back looks nice, and the front blank's looking really good, so we're getting close to being finished. Fairly happy. I've still got one little indentation here, but something I need to be cognizant of is as I was wiping the CA glue, I left a little ridge on the end of this blank, and I'm going to have to sand that off. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a couple more coats, because I don't know how well you can see it, but there's still a pretty good spot right there. So a couple of more coats on the back blank. I'm going to start by putting a little bit in that divot, and then we'll turn it on. And I don't know if that'll help or not, but got a pretty deep little chip there. Yeah, that helped a little bit. It built it up. We'll try that one more time. I've got a deep chip there that I'm trying to get rid of, and it's just not filling as fast as the rest of the porous areas on this blank. So we'll hit it again the same way. And what I'm hoping is, I'm shooting this with activator, and my hope is the activator is laying on the surface, and as I put the dot in there, yeah, it's really starting to fill nicely. It's the bottom is starting to the bottom of the divot is starting to cure because of the CA or the activator residue, and then I put it on top, which sort of fills, and it seems like that's working. Let me go ahead and give it one more coat and see what it looks like. That's working real well. I tell you what, it's almost gone. I still think one more coat. I hate to build it up this much, but you know, you really don't have a choice with something that's this porous. You've got to make sure that you get a good surface so that you can level it nicely with your micro mesh pads. That looks really, really nice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and swap out these bushings for my standard turning bushings, and then we will begin micro meshing these blanks. They look really nice. I've got quite a few coats of medium CA on these blanks, so I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive with the micro mesh than I usually do. You can see I'm building up a little bit of a slurry, and that's just because I want to take them down closer to the level of the bushings so that I get a nice fit when I assemble my pins. we should have enough CA on here where it's not going to be an issue. Also, I wanted to level out this little lip that I put on the end of this blank, and it's feeling pretty good right now. Alright, let's feel the blanks and see how they feel. Really nice. I got, on this back one, I feel a little bit of a bump. Okay, I thought it was a bump. What it is, it's a little tiny, just, it's not really deep, but it's where I had to fill so much right there. There's a little tiny divot you can feel. The rest of the blank feels amazing. I think what I'll do though is that little divot, I mean, I could mess with it, but I can put the clip right there. The rest of the blank is flawless and gorgeous, and I think it'll really, everything should be just fine. Let's get these off the lathe, or actually let's polish these up, and then we'll get them off the lathe and get them pressed into a kit. Really getting a nice shine. Wow, they look nice. Alright, let me get them off the lathe and we'll go over to the table and press them into kits. I've laid out all of the parts for my mechanical pencil kit and my pen kit, and I'm ready to start assembly. Many times what I'll do when I assemble the bolt action pen kits is I like to flip the bolt. And there's a Phillips screw inside of the back end of this pen. You loosen it up 1 or 2 turns, you can flip the bolt down, and then you can tighten it up. You unscrew the back cap and you can flip the clip around to the other side, and there's a little notch there to accept that. What I found is the mechanical pencil kit works pretty much the same way. There is a Phillips screw inside of the back end of the pen, and I can flip the bolt. There's a notch on the back side of this cap for the pen, but I cannot get this unthreaded or loosened up enough to flip that around. I have found no way to do it, and I am nervous that I'm going to damage the kit. So I've decided to go ahead and leave these kits the way they come. I'm going to assemble the mechanical pencil kit first. I've never put one of these together, but what it recommends doing in the instructions is to attach the cap and go ahead and press that into one end of the blank. And get this piece of cardboard on here. I like to press nice and slow, and I'll rotate the blank to make sure I'm going in even. Okay, now that we've got that pressed in, it's not quite all the way in, but I'll finish that off here in a minute. I'm going to remove this. Actually, I want to put that back on. Now that I think about it, we need to press the back end of the pen in. So let's go ahead and expand my press a little bit. One more. Well, I've got a slight problem here. It seems that my press, without being able to push this back a little bit farther, I don't have the distance in here to press the cap in, or the cap of the pen in. I'm going to go ahead and unthread this little tip. That should give me the needed distance to be able to press it together. All right. Once again, I'm going to use this little piece of cardboard, and we'll kind of rotate the pen to make sure everything goes in nice and neat. And we'll give it that one final press, there we go, to get everything locked together. All right, it's looking pretty good. Now that I've got this pressed together, I realize I made a mistake. I was supposed to add this spring prior to pushing the back end or the cap of the pin in. So what I'm going to have to do now is knock the cap out, put the spring in, and put it back together. Whoops, it slid a little bit. Let me go ahead and tighten this down just a fraction. There we are. All right. Sorry about the camera bump there. I've got the back end out. Let's go ahead and slide the spring in, large end first. Then we'll replace the cap. And we'll go ahead and get this pressed back into the pin. All right, I'm happy with that. Next up, we put the lead dispenser into the pin. We'll thread the tip on. And the eraser comes in the back half, the primer of the bullet, or what's supposed to be the primer. That threads into the back of the pin. We push this forward and lock the bolt down. She's sticking a tiny bit. We should be able to press that forward. Okay, we're going to have to work with this. It is ejecting the ink. You can see, or the lead. You can see the lead ejecting each time I prime it. But what I have a problem with is this should go all the way forward and lock, and that should leave the tip of the mechanical pencil outside of the blank, and it's not doing that. So I'm going to have to fiddle around with this a little bit and see exactly what the problem is. Okay. There we go. That's much better. I did not have it installed properly. Okay. I think it turned out really nice. I did find that this little tip here that the lead is dispensed from should be outside of the cap at all times. To eject the lead, you simply press the bolt forward, and you can see the lead coming out of the front tip of the pin. You can lock it to use it. You don't have to. And to get the lead to go back in, if you push it out too far, you just press the bolt all the way forward and push the lead back in. Let me go ahead and assemble the bolt action pin. With my new modification of my press, I just don't have quite enough distance between the ram and the press block to be able to press these bolt actions in. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the two nuts, the spacer nuts, from this ram, and I think this will give me the needed distance. Yes, it looks like it's going to work just fine. We'll get it started, and then we'll bring our cardboard in for protection and finish pressing the pin. The tip of the pin unscrews. We can drop the spring right onto the ink refill. Drop it inside of the kit. Reattach the tip. And the pin looks fantastic. To eject the ink, you press the bolt forward and lock it. To retract the ink, you just simply retract the bolt. And there you have the bolt action pen and pencil set. I wanted to show you the case that I purchased for this pen set. It resembles a hard shell gun case. When you open it, it's got a spot in here for a pen, and it will take any of the bolt actions and pretty much just about any of the other gun themed pens that Penn State sells. You will notice though that it only has room for one pen. This part is removable, and Penn State does sell a replacement that can handle 2 pens. And there you have it. You can close your case up and you're ready to go.